Good afternoon everyone, it's PTG-Gobbo here, and I'm here with another video. We're doing some snow basing today. It's going to be a basic one, so what you're going to need is some cork, good old modelling cork, and break it up as you want it, some PVA glue, some fine gritted sand, some modelling snow. I use the Army Painter variety, an old tub for mixing, and some accessories to make it pop a little bit more. And then brushes, we need an old ruined brush, a nice dry brush, medium detail brush, and a fine detail brush. First thing we want to do is we want to position it, make sure we're happy with how it looks. You can play around with it. Then cover your base in PVA, making sure that it's all covered. We want to get the cork sticking nicely, but also again the sand that's coming on later. Position your cork on it. Make sure you're happy with how it looks. Then get your sand and dunk your base in. I use a nice little pot, and you can just roll him around and he gets into all the gaps. It's lovely. And once he's dry, you can then start adding your accessories. So I'm using a little arrow there, a little skull, and a thigh bone by the look of it. So with super glue I've applied them where I want them. And now it's ready for undercoating, so we're going to use a Chaos Black spray. Here we are, all undercoated. Made sure we've got into all the gaps. So we're going to use our dry brush, and we're going to use cold grey first. So we're going to coat the whole model in a nice dry brush, picking up all the details, just making sure that anything that's erased from the actual base is caught with the dry brushing action. We want this base to be nice and bright and white, well, bright eventually. So you just work your way around the model, picking up all the detail. Next we're going to go on to Stonewall Grey, and we're going to go dry brush again. We're going to be picking up the edges of the stones this time. So we want to get anywhere where the light would hit, anywhere that would be broken, and all the sand along the base as well. I want it to be nice and bright. Next up, as a final dry brush, we're going to go right on the edges just with Skull White, just really picking up those details. This will help when the snow's applied later on. Next up we're going to take our medium brush and some bone white, and we're going to do a base coat on all the bones. I find it's easier to do 2 thin coats, which is what we're going to do here, just making sure that it's nice and covered everything. Once your first coat's dry, just pop back on in with your second, just making sure you catch anywhere which didn't cover properly, just so it's a nice bright bone. Next up, we're going to use Beastie Brown, and we're going to paint the shaft of the arrow. It's a little bit flimsy. But just take your time, work your way around it. And again, same with this one, we're going to do a second coat of the Beastie Brown once it's dry, just to make sure we've covered everything. Next up is Stonewall Grey, and we're going to pick out the fletching on the top of the arrow. Again, just working our way around it, making sure that we're pulling everything out. We don't want to get the centre of the arrow, we just want to get the feathers. Next up is a dark tone wash. I water this one down, 50% water, and just go over the bones. This is just to add some extra shading and shadows in there. We're also going to use it on the fletching as well, just to get all the ridges in there. Next up is Bone White with the detail brush, so the really fine brush. And we're going to go over the bones and just highlight. And anywhere that we think it would be brighter and there isn't shadow. So we want to make sure that we leave the dark tone in the recesses. Next up is Dead White, and we're just going to pick out the outer edge of the fletching. Just right along the edge of it, still leaving the grey inside. We're also going to do an extreme highlight on the eyebrows where the skull would be. A couple of the edges of the bone that would really pick up the light as a final highlight. Next up's the fun part, so you put some of your PVA in your little tub, then add in some of your snow and mix it up, and you want to get it so it's like a little powdery toothpaste, so it's not too wet, it's not too dry, but you can still move it about, and then start spatulaing it on to where you want it. My thought for this base is that we wanted it to be almost like it was melting snow, or like a fresh snow that's just started to fall and starting to form, so not covering the entire base, but just anywhere that's raised that snow would start to gather. Again, just keep manipulating it, keep adding it as much as you want. You can take some off if you need to. Just wait until you're happy. Then as a final part, I like to pour a little bit of the powdered snow on top, just while it's wet, just so a couple of bits catch, just to make it look a bit more like fresh snow. And there we go, that's the finished base. Nice and simple one. I hope you enjoyed it, and we enjoy making these videos. Please like and subscribe down below, and we will see you soon for another basic basing tutorial. Thank you very much.